like we're going to take this thing to the moon. Like we got our goals and stuff for the company, but it's going to require a lot of amazing people.
It can be perceived as micromanagement, or like I look at it as management, right?
I don't answer the phone just to be like, yeah, I think we can help you. You know, we'll be out there between 8 and 5 p.m. It's like,
and I promise you, if I call you to do my roof and you tell me someone will be out to give me a quote and give me an 8-hour time frame, I'm calling the next person. Welcome back to another episode of the Mission Control Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stearns with Ascend Digital Agency. I'd like to thank our very special guest, Ethan, for joining us today. What up, Ethan?
Nothing much, man. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Before we get into that, I would also like to thank the team at Roofer. If you need roof quotes, CRM, instant roof measurements, DIYs, whatever, or just a great team to talk to, Roofer's your squad. They help bring the show to life, and we appreciate them. Click the link down in the description. You'll be happy that you did. So, Andy's Roofing. First of all, I love your brand. I want to start there.
Thanks, man.
Now, I know that you used to work as a project manager at a company, 11 years ago, I believe it was. And you saw some things that you're like, there's a need, right? It was a professional roofing company, from what I gather. What does that mean? And what does that look like to a customer when they're stacking up a professional roofing company versus everyone else?
Yeah. So my history was in 2012, I got into roofing, and everybody's like, how do you get into roofing? Because nobody just wakes up one day and says they're going to be a roofer. So my girlfriend actually worked for a roofing company, and there wasn't a whole lot of motivation other than I wanted to hang out with her. So I walked in there and I knew the guy, and I was like, hey, can I work for you guys? Cause my girlfriend works for you. And then I think the next day he had me out tearing off a roof, literally tearing off a roof. And I was like, man, I hope this is not the end goal, cause this really sucks. And very quickly I started doing inspections for the sales reps, because it was supplement inspection. So I would build the Exactimate supplements, and then we'd send them in and then get that a check added to the insurance claim. So I got really good at finding all the little stuff the insurance adjusters don't find. And then I kept hearing the sales reps in the front yard talking to the homeowner. I'm like, dude, this guy's getting paid what? If he's doing that, I could do that. So very quickly I got into that side. There was a little bit of lag sales, and then they needed somebody. I did whatever they wanted me to do. I helped install gutters for a year and a half. And so I know what a 3rd-degree sunburn on the back of your neck feels like. It's horrible from leaning over. And there's a lot to that. But was going to college, got married, did all the stuff during that time, got out, went straight into roofing sales, and then just never turned back, man. I absolutely love roofing.
Okay. What was the biggest challenge as far as getting acclimated to the roofing industry as somebody who was green, like your shirt? Yeah.
So Andy's Roofing's been around since January 1 of 2020, and it's over 5 years ago now. But even the amount of information, we didn't have the amount of information that we have now. Nobody was sharing like they are now. No, it was almost a scarcity mindset where people were hoarding all their information. So, I started Andy's Roofing, if anybody knows my story, out of necessity. The company I was working for was kind of headed downhill, and I had to do something. So I had $2,000 in my bank account, and I'm like, we got to make this work. So I immediately became an entrepreneur out of necessity, and it just drove me to find information. And because of the lack of information, I was reaching out to, I had YouTube University, all of the different things. I had previous sales experience. I knew the process for roofing, but the back end office stuff and all that, you can go to college for this, but they don't prepare you for real life. So it's one of those things, you just, through figuring it out and talking to people, you kind of piece it all together. And I just said, hey, I want to be the best. I'm going to figure it out. And so I went to my first roofing process conference, I believe, either then, or I can't remember the timeline. I watched a bunch of Dimitri's videos, and I was like, man, I need to learn all of this stuff from this guy. So I was taking pages of notes. The next day I'd go and I'd implement all of it, and we'd try and build the business that way. And then he invited everybody to come up to Minneapolis to his office at that time. So I'm like, oh yeah, buddy. So I flew up there, got a lot of information, brought it back. And then the company, just from piecing it all together and having amazing people like that help me, I have put together something that most people looking in would be like, dude, that's a pretty sick company. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know what it took to get here.
Yeah, it's that burning desire to be the best, right? And I think a lot of people, when they set out, they have that, and the percentages as far as people that start business and end up in business 3-5 years from then. What would you say was your coping mechanism? Like when you're, it's baptism by fire. You're waking up every day and you're like, all right, I want to be better. I got to be better. This is how I'm going to be better. And sometimes you make huge strides and sometimes you fall on your face, right? And that can be challenging. Speaking from personal experience, I'm assuming it's the same for most business owners when they start. How did you cope with that? How did you persevere?
Coping mechanism. So I don't know, man. I went all in, like concentrated dose of business pain. I would say probably I grew up in a religious family, and so we go to church 3 times a week. Like I've done that my entire life, Wednesday or Thursday, and then 2 times on Sunday. So, having that time, it's like they tell people like meditate and get a quiet place and whatever. Like I would go to church, so it probably didn't have exactly the desired effect that everybody goes to church for. But for me, it was like the chaos of business and everything. I could have a time where for like 2 or 3 hours, I just sit. And usually those, like we joke about it here, like we'd be like, oh, we need some inspiration. Oh, Ethan, you need to go to church. Like, and I'll fill out like 2 pages of notes and come back and be like, guys, check out what I came back with. But really that, obviously it's a positive influence on anybody's life, but then to just being able to kind of digest everything in an environment that's not judging you. Like your employees are looking at you. They need decisions. Everybody's pulling on you. And it's like, dude, you go to church, you just kind of chill and be washed by the water of the word.
Let's go. Yeah, it's funny because I don't watch a ton of Dimitri's long form, but I did see a good portion of that video. And I want to say, it was a couple years, maybe 2-3 years ago. And I want to say he was sponsoring like, $6 million roofer, from Indianapolis, and learn what he's doing right. And giving you a lot of praise because you got a lot of companies. And honestly, especially when you go in my experience, I've worked with hundreds of roofers, the ones that go from being in roofing to, there's a couple different types of owners, right? Some of them are like marketing background and like, okay, I have a partner, he knows roofing, I know marketing, we're going to run this sales organization. And some are, I was installing gutters, I was project managing, I was ripping off roofs, and I'm going to start a business. And there's a wide range of outcomes that happen when somebody sets out to start that business. And just the maturation process of that, right? Like the willingness to acknowledge, to be situationally aware and like, okay, we have to get into a CRM. We know it's going to suck, but if we want to get this thing past 1.5 million, there's got to be a CRM. Everybody has to have access to the information. So can you walk through what that was like in the beginning for you?
It was horrible. So I will say that, if you want to build something that lasts, I want to beat odds. So like the odds, there's different numbers out there, but it's 80% of roofing companies are out of business in the first 2 years, and 95% of them are gone in 5 years. Yeah. And there's a lot of different reasons for that: financial acumen or lack thereof, lack of marketing experience, lack of sales ability, all of that kind of stuff plays into it. And I would say the biggest thing for me that helped me in the beginning is that I am not afraid to ask all the dumb questions. Like, someone has the answer out there. And my dad taught me when I was young, he's like, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, somebody's figured this out. Like, just go ask them and then get that information, provide enough value to where they will keep giving you information, and then build a relationship like that. And so, I have people reach out to me now and ask for advice. And it's like, hey, I'll give you a little tidbit, and then I go and see if they do it. And if they do it, I'll keep spending my time. So that's what I did in the early days, is that, man, these conferences, these meetups, all of this stuff is the network that I built were people that were 2 levels ahead of me, and they would be like, oh, don't do that. You need to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that, you know? And like, I'm definitely not self-made, man. Like, I'm the culmination of like a ton of different people that have poured into me, and I'm just regurgitating all that content back to the market.
Yeah. And I'm happy for your success. Is there anybody specifically you'd like to shout out?
I don't know. I mean, the early days when his content was a little bit different than it is now it would be Dimitri. Like Dimitri, just the kind of value he provided for that $1 to $3 million roofing contractor was just gold. I mean, it was like, pull out your notepad, pull up to the table, you know, like we're going to be here and we're going to learn. So that helped me in the early days. And then, guys content, like it was funny. I went to, I think it was RoofCon or one of them, and I met, Eric Reno. And dude, I'd followed this guy forever. I was like, oh man, I know exactly who this is. And he just like, he's standing right there. I'm like, hey, Eric, what's up? And he's like, what's up, dude? And then we started talking, and then now we're friends and we bounce stuff off each other. But, guys like Martin Pettigrew. So, just the motivation and the inspiration that they provided, and how that they put homeowners first. Like that was always my thing. Like I texted Martin and I was like, hey man, just thank you. Like you put into words what I was always feeling. Like everything should be about the homeowner. And like processes, how we build the business, how we create the customer experience, everything should be about the homeowner. And he just did it. Like he could talk about it in a way that I was like, bro, I can relate. Like I can correlate everything I'm doing with what you're doing. And then, so we started building our business with that in mind. Is just like, if we put homeowners first, then we'll always have paychecks, and the business will, I mean, right now our business, it's pushing us from the back. Like we're exploding, and we're trying to like, we can only train and hire so fast right now. Yeah.
No, it's a good spot to be in. And it's funny, Eric Reno is going to be on site here in about 3 hours. He's coming up for the weekend from Detroit. So super excited for that. He's a great dude, super smart.
Oh yeah.
Love working with him. You said something that I think should deserves a little bit more attention. So you talked about not being afraid to ask questions. So a lot of people that start a business, they're type A personality, they're alpha, and it's hard for them to shed that ego to admit, like, I don't know everything. In fact, there's very little that I know a lot about. And then there's a lot I know very little about. And the more that you could tip it towards like knowing more about more, the better off you're going to be. So not being afraid to ask those questions. You said the dumb questions. I think you said like,
oh yeah.
That's really, really important. That's been important for me. And I think it's important in anyone's journey that wants to sustain success, as you mentioned, but then also your process for giving advice. Like everybody will try to steal your time. If you let them, right? You got to put boundaries around it. Like you're super busy. You got a family, you've got obligations, you're running a company that's, growing and thriving. And I'm sure you got to this place because of a reason. It was likely because you're trying to help people. You want to help people, but people got to want to help themselves, right? If you spend 2 hours pouring into somebody and then another 2 hours and another 2 hours, then you go look back and they've done nothing. What are you doing it for? Right. So piecing it off and then paying attention as to if they're doing it or not. I love that methodology as far as trying to be helpful, but at the same time, protecting your time.
Yeah. It's just, there are things that are, like your opinion. And then there's things that are like widely known as like facts. So when you tell somebody they need leads, it's like, well, how many eyeballs are on your brand, or like how many people are seeing you? And it's like, well, we're not doing anything, and we have a sucky logo and we're not telling anybody about it. And I'm like, well, you probably need to do like at least one thing,
Yeah. That's a good point. If you didn't, let's say Men in Black moment, right? You ever see Men in Black? They come up and and your memory's gone. Who would you watch today? Whose content? Where would you go? There's so much information out there, right? Between video content, ChatGPT, and there's information, there's misinformation, there's all these things, right? So if you didn't have all the knowledge that you've acquired throughout the years and you had to do it all over again, is there somebody's content that you would tell someone to lock in on, aside from Ascend Digital Agency?
Nice. I like it. I don't know, man. Like, I don't feel like anybody's really filling the void like they could for that like $1 to $3 million roofing business owner, and providing that kind of education. I mean, that's part of my motivation is like, man, I went through that. I vividly remember trying to find information, and unless you could like get a business owner in a headlock, you were not going to get that information. It was the holy grail of business apparently. So, I don't know, because it used to be Martin and Mark Godare with the Riva thing that they were doing. And then that kind of like they pulled back from that for obvious reasons, if you know all about it. But it's just, there's not a lot. I mean, like John Bros, I don't know what he's doing now, but that guy's like an undercover killer. Like he's got so much knowledge. Like if you can just trap that guy, like you got to do it. Like just ask him. The guy's built, I mean, an amazing company with MHI, and then he was doing Ugly Roof. And then I don't know what he's doing now. He might still be doing Ugly Roof, but he's an awesome guy. And then like each area of my business, like you have those key people, like you were talking about, like overall business, I don't really know, but then I always point people like, if you want to know sales, you go to Chuck Toki. You know, like that, in my opinion, there's nobody better. When I started, Chuck Toki wasn't a thing. So I learned Rodney Webb. And then in my opinion, Chuck Toki is the nicer version, or like the ascending version. You like that? Ascending version of Rodney Webb would be Chuck Toki, you know, and I don't know who's next in that space. Hopefully he sticks around for a really long time. But I mean, I've been fortunate to see the different ways people sell. You know, you got the Tom Hopkins and the Tracy, and then, you know, like all these things. You got the Sears, the Diamond Sales System, and then the Rodney Webb. And then now we have Chuck Toki, which in my opinion it's the culmination of everything right now, just what he's teaching. Yeah. Because he's like at that $3 to $5 million mark where you get too many sales reps and you need to hire a sales manager. That's where he kicks at. Yeah. Is like he trains sales managers. And I'm like, man, that's how you really scale, is you got to have the right people that then train the right people.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm a big Toki fan. We're doing a series right now. We just shot 2 episodes over the past few weeks, and then we got like 2 or 3 more. Because, you know, I was like, yeah, do you want to hop on and do some more content? He's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And I was like, all right, I want to talk about, you know, sales, right? Obviously, I want to talk about sales. I want to talk about meetings. How frequently should people have meetings? How should they be structured? What's the cadence look like? What's the tonality? Well, I want to talk about recruiting, how you keep these. I'm like, you know what? As I sit here and have this conversation, I'm like, we need to do a multi-series on this. And instead of going wide, go deep into each one of these topics. Yeah. So if any of y'all haven't checked that out, we've got 2 out, and they were, you know, to no credit of mine, they were bangers. Chuck just came and just absolutely poured on the value. So
yeah, he's a beast. I watched a little bit of your last episode with him, and I'm like, gosh, this guy, like, he should charge for this podcast. It's just, he's next level, you know, the value that he brings. And he's pretty humble guy. In my opinion, he is the perfect salesperson because he is an extroverted introvert. Yeah. And he's like a rocket scientist or whatever he did before this, right. You know, like, so he could literally break down every part of it. And then like sales. So we talk about sales process, and, you know, he's known for objection handling and stuff like that, but really his gift, I was telling somebody off of this just earlier, I was like, hey, like Chuck Toki is the man as far as like, from the time the lead comes in until it goes to production, he builds sales processes. Right. You know, like what that's all about. And then even before then, you know, how we motivate those salespeople, how we find those salespeople. I mean, he ran the largest roofing company in the sales department at that time in the world, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got an impressive resume, and there's just some people you watch them do their job and you're like, this guy gets it. Right. Yep. And there's a difference between getting it and then being able to make that light bulb go off for others and have it resonate, right? And he checks both those boxes in spades.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so can't say enough good stuff about Chuck. And Chuck, if you're watching this, I'm grateful you didn't charge my audience for the podcast, despite what right? You don't charge me for the last 3 either. Do you have core values at Andy's Roofing?
Absolutely.
What are they?
So be professional, consistent, positive attitude, eager to learn, and then servant's heart.
There's a lot of different, you know, core values that you can have, guiding principles that can help run your business. How did you land on the ones that you did?
So at the beginning, It took, okay, let me put it this way. I used to have a different set of core values at the very beginning, and it took EOS, like the Entrepreneur's Operating System, if people aren't familiar with it. It took EOS, we brought in an implementer, and he kind of, he went through our core values, and he was like, hey, that's really not a core value. That's more wishful thinking, or like, you should do this kind of thing, So some of them I fought back on and was like, be consistent. To me, or consistency is a core value, and we stayed with it. But the goal is that people are consistent, So even as you ask this, we just shot a 5-part podcast series that's dropping right now over the next 5 weeks on every one of our core values. And my favorite one is the last one, servant's heart, because I have a ministry background, like my family is known for that. And just seeing people give with no expectation of return, usually those people, when you put it out into the universe, it always comes back to you as long as you have the right motivation. Yeah. And it's just man, if we go help people, and that's really where it comes from. It's man, if you just go help people, you'll always be taken care of. Yeah. And that it's catapulted our company more than anything else, in my opinion.
That's amazing. That's a really good point. We're implementing EOS at the moment, and it caused us to change one of our core values, which was never stop growing. So ASCEND is an acronym for the core values, but N was never stop growing, because I think that's important. Be a student of the game. You can know as much as you want, and you could have a tremendous amount of knowledge, but there's always room to improve. But we changed that in light of me implementing EOS. It's meeting with the leadership team, and it's I want this core value to be never take constructive feedback personally. Because as you implement something like EOS, there's going to be tough conversations with people, right? Yep. As far as accountability chart, there's a much higher level degree of accountability throughout the organization, clear expectations. And that clarity could be great if you're doing a great job, and it could be not great if you're not doing a great job, but then you get to coach and develop, and then make sure the right people are in the right seats. If they're not, find somewhere else or get rid of them. Okay, fine. But it's really interesting when you said, giving value and doing it essentially with the right motivation, right? Through the right lens, because what was broached was how will this be perceived by the staff, right? And it could be perceived as micromanagement, or I look at it as management, right? And if that's a spectrum, and you got management here, micromanagement here, how is it going to be perceived? And how you roll it out has a lot to do with that. But if they know that you're doing it with their best interest in mind, with the customer in mind, with bettering the company, elevating everybody within that company, well, it's going to be perceived more as a management, as opposed to, Mike's going to make me do this, and I got to check this box, and I got to have these weekly meetings, and I got to have these 90-day goals. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, to just kind of piggyback off of that, part of what I'm doing now is to kind of expose some of that stuff with EOS. Everybody, if you look in on the outside, we like to market at Andy's Roofing and everything is great, but how did we get here? Yeah. And EOS was a big part of it. So I had an office manager that was the most amazing person ever, but I knew where I wanted to take the company. And when we brought this implementer in, I think it was the second meeting, she literally showed up to the meeting and she's like, hey, I can't do this. She's like, the level of accountability to take this to the next level. She's like, I can't do it. And it was I have so much respect for her and just understanding that. And then we parted ways on good terms. She's an amazing person. She actually goes to my church, and I love her for that. But it was EOS really that's just kind of hey, this is the vision for the company. This is where we want to go. And unfortunately, not everybody, you can't take everybody with you, and the people that got you to certain numbers won't get you to the next numbers. Right. So, but man, it's ripped my heart out a few times to get to that conclusion.
That level of clarity and accountability. I had a team meeting last week, and I'm like, look, guys, accountability has always been our number one core value. But just like anybody else, unless there's supreme intentionality around it, it's easy for things that are going tremendously well, or things that you're trying to work on addressing to slip through the cracks when the bullets are flying, right? Because you're so goal oriented on doing the right thing for the customer, making the biggest impact, and all the other things that roll up into running a roofing business, a marketing agency. It doesn't matter what kind of business, right? And then people lose focus, and that's not a good thing, because like if somebody is excelling, I want it to be flagrantly obvious so that I could take the steps necessary to further your career, to allow you to make a bigger impact for the customers and grow professionally, right? And the other side of that is like if you're falling short in some areas, it's important that you know that. It's important that we give you the time, energy, and resources to bring you up, right, and to elevate you so that you can be the best version of yourself. So I read it like 2 years ago, and I was like, it's not the right time. And I was sitting there a few weeks ago, and I was like, it's the right time. It's the right time. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah, so, I read all the books, Rocket Fuel. Like I understood my limitations, and I just knew, hey, look, to get to the next level, like I need somebody that's just an awesome at getting stuff done. And so I had a production manager that was kind of dropping the ball on some stuff, and I'll take ownership of some of that and just training them and making them better. We were slammed, things were going. So I hired another production manager to kind of come in and overlap that. And then he eventually became my general manager. So now we have a general manager, and that guy's like, he's the total opposite of me. We joke about him. Like he's just so even keel. Kevin, shout out Kevin Prince. Like he's my general manager. He's like my rock. That
Hope
dude
you're watching, Kevin.
He really runs the business. And that was something I learned. Like I didn't throw him to the wolves. It took almost a year. Actually, this would be a year that I was like, hey, you're officially the general manager. Now let me train you on everything that I expect. These are all the things like, I think it's EOS. So it talks about the things that you're good at, but you don't like to do. The things like, how do we keep you in that quadrant, Ethan? That's like you get the most motivation, the most satisfaction. And really that's what takes the company to the next level. And so I listed out an ungodly amount of things that I hated to do. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to train you how to do this, how to go over the AR report and all the financial stuff that I hated and all that. And so he does all of that on weekly cadence meetings with our office staff. And like, it just takes a lot off of me. Like I can just run. Yeah.
That's a great spot to be. How long did it take after you started implementing it for you to feel just unjust, like it's the right choice? There's no doubt about it. It was the right choice.
Man, it was more like the decision to do it was the right choice. It was like, I knew I needed something next because we weren't having scheduled meetings. Everything was kind of running. I tell somebody to do something and you kind of forget about it because you're moving on to something else and you never know about it. Like there wasn't accountability there. Right. So it was like pulling teeth. Like we all need to get in a room and have a scheduled meeting once a week. And it was like, well, can we do it bi-weekly or monthly? Cause we're all so busy. And I'm like, you're trying to, herd chickens here. So that was what EOS was like, we need structure. We're just going to do this. So, I paid an ungodly amount of money to implementers and all these people to get the ball rolling. And then once we got buy-in, I think it was probably 6 months in, everybody kind of understood it. And then after the first year, it was like, well, of course we do this. This is just how Andy's Roofing runs. And then now I think we're 2 years in, maybe a little more than that now, really. And it's just Andy's Roofing. Like when you come in, this is what we do.
Now, the kind lady that you went to church, was that the only turnover directly as a result of Andy's Roofing? Or EOS?
Oh, no. No, man, not at all. Yeah. So there's been people that we've fired. There's people I've fired. There's people. So part of growing a business means you're going to have employees, a lot of employees. So very quickly on, I would call it wisdom. I had an HR professional that I was in a networking group and I brought them in and paid them and they came in. It was almost like daily. It felt like, and they trained me. Cause I'm a high D personality. Like I get stuff done. And so taking the sharp edges off and like treating employees like you get a band, you get a cut and you're just like, okay, is that okay? And I'm like, you're not dying, like walk it off, They helped me with a lot of, like maybe not to that extreme, but really it was just, how do you fire somebody like legally? how do you write somebody up in a way that they don't feel like you're backhanding them in the face and their performance 100% is not going to get better. It's just going to go down the other hill. So we have corrective action forms where we lay it out and we'd be like, hey, this is what's going to happen over the next, 30, 60, 90. Like we need you to come back around, and how to frame that, how to train your team, how to frame that to get the person back to where they should be and excel. All of that stuff is HR related. So I just had an HR meeting the other day with the general manager, the production manager, the HR person, like all of these people. And we were talking about, I said this in the meeting, I was like, I want 100 employees. And my general manager was like, what? And I'm like, you don't get it. Like we're going to take this thing to the moon. Like we got our goals and stuff for the company, but it's going to require a lot of amazing people. So we want to have a company that's attractive enough to bring these people in. And then we owe it to them to build a system to do monthly check-ins and quarterly reviews and yearly evaluations and raises and all of this stuff. And all of that is like, that's just how you build a sustainable company. You have employees and this is how you take care of them. It all goes back to those core values too. So like when we grade an employee, if we let's say I have a guy and we're playing, I don't know, golf outside of work, which I'm trying to get better at my golf game. It's a lifelong endeavor. And like, I don't know, he runs over on my foot or something. I get mad at him. And then he has his like monthly performance evaluation the next day. And then you just go and you get emotional about it. Like that's not fair to him. He's probably like a rock star employee, right? Yeah. So the core values for us is a grading system on how an employee is doing. And it just levels the playing field. And my core values, like it takes a little bit of the emotion out of it. And like EOS has got the GWC, so get it, want it, and the capacity to do it. But once we get past that would be like the first thing, like to get on my team, you got GWC. To stay on my team, we just assume that you have that. And then after that, it's just, are you living up to the standards of this company or the core values of this company? So yeah, man, like core values I didn't have that at the beginning, and I don't blame anybody for not having them, because people are asking me like, oh, what's your core values? I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to make money. Like I got a house payment. So it really comes down to, can you get consistent lead flow? Once you do that, can you sell jobs at a high rate? If you're 30 to 50% closing percentage, whatever that is, then you create your own problems in production. We need more production people. We need schedulers. We need all that. And then you are lucky enough to make money to get at the end. And then you have to be a good steward of that. And then you just roll that money back through and either buy more leads or create more brand awareness, whatever that is, to get more leads. And then you get more sales, and then it goes through production. It's a never ending cycle.
And now we can change all our processes because we added $2 million. We got 15 more people.
Oh yeah, man. No, like my wife came to me, I think it was last night. She's like, you realize how many employees that we just hired? And I'm like, no, I have no idea. Like, I don't even meet these people anymore. I don't interview them. Like we've trained to the point that my team knows what we're looking for to live up to these core values. And then they go and they hire the people. So randomly, like I'll be in the office and I happened to be the other day, this guy walked up the stairs. I was like, hey man, how are you doing? And then I looked at him, I was like, he's wearing my shirt. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's who you are, but it was just like, honestly, I walked away from that and I was like, so proud. I was like, my team has built a system that's not relying on me. We can hire people, we can train them, we can build something that, God forbid I would die, but Andy's Roofing, it can carry on. Right. That was the goal probably from the first year of Andy's Roofing. I was like, I want something so much bigger than me that can go on if something happens to me. That's amazing, dude. You think about the get it, want it capacity to do it too. And that can evolve, right? Like day one, they could check all the boxes for GWC, but day 73 or day 194, like that's fluid. And, the accountability aspect and the process around the structure of the system helps you keep the finger on the pulse of that, you're right, with the core values and everything else that's incorporated. I'm super excited for it, quite honestly. I would say at the beginning with EOS, they have the accountability chart. So like a normal company would call it the organizational chart. Yeah. But whenever you're a small business, it's more about accountability because you're not big enough to compartmentalize people into like, you have one job. You do these 3 things within this one job. Like you have one office manager that does 9,272 things. And so really it's like, let's list out the major things and then hopefully some of the minor things. And it's like, are we winning?
Right.
You know, because most people, they don't get big enough to have 50 plus employees or whatever it is. And to where this person does a very specific thing, but because of the quantity of work, that's all that they need to do to win in their job. You know, like most people at the beginning too, like that's the sad part about new businesses. You don't have all the skill sets to win. Right. So you're trying to learn it on the fly, still make money, and then hopefully hire somebody that actually wants to work for you. That way you can delegate some of that back onto them. Yeah,
that's a fact. So a lot of, I've talked to way more roofers than I've worked with. So between shows and people calling in for consults or just reaching out DMs, one of the things that I notice is that a lot of the times companies that are struggling, they don't look in specific to system and process, right? Either they don't have them, they have them and they're not good. They have them, they're good, but they don't manage their team to be accountable to them, right? And when I look at it, or they never adjust them, right? So they do a really good job. Let's say they do a really good job creating systems and processes. They're a 3-person company at 2.7 million. Then they go to 6 million and they're having all these issues. And usually you can point a finger to that symptom. And instead of taking ibuprofen or Advil, like you have to diagnose the underlying cause, right? Don't treat the symptom, treat what's causing the symptom. Figure it out, isolate it, and then fix it. And then adjust your processes. And like, it's kind of got to be like looked at it like a living and breathing thing, your SOPs, right? It can't just be, okay, we figured it out. Let's crack the code. All right, we're good. We're off to the races, because like things evolve, things change. You get more chefs in the kitchen, dishes get screwed up. Right. And we want to give them the best dish possible consistently. So early on, did you experience some of those symptoms before you implemented EOS?
So, yeah, this is like one of my hot buttons. Okay. When you are scaling, everything is the owner's fault.
Yeah.
Okay. You will build the company that reflects you. And the higher the standard you hold for yourself and how you show up, how you communicate, how you do everything, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And all of that, it's very important at the beginning because you want to delegate that to someone that's 80% of you, and that's acceptable, right? But if you're operating at 40% of the market's potential for you, then you're going to hire somebody that, I mean, quite frankly, they just suck. Like, yeah, you have a sucky owner leader, and then we're going to
of the average person, right?
Well, and then people are like, oh, we can't get employees, we can't grow. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't work for you either. You are horrible, you know, like, so all of that stuff is just personal accountability. And at the beginning, I was very diligent in all of these things in every area of the business. I was very intentional. I have it written at the other office, like we're aggressively intentional. You know, like you won't get what you want unless you're aggressively intentional. So just how you built it, because like I was a rock star salesman. I had all these awesome numbers and could sell and do all these things and persuade. And then you have to hire your first salesman and give them your leads. And then it's like, bro, I have a personal relationship with these people. Like they're calling off a referral and I'm going to hand it to a dude that going out there. I mean, it wasn't like our roofing company was named like, you know, Jake Lake Roofing. Like it's Andy's Roofing. It's my last name. Right. Like you are going out there and you are me. Like, so as far as ownership goes, like I'm going to make sure this dude is the best trained person that ever went out to a homeowner's house in the world.
Yeah.
You know, it's just got to be that way. Like it's got to be that way. So that was my mentality. And I created a bunch of people that if I wanted if I wanted someone to go to my mom's house or my grandma's house, they would act this way, because I know my mom, if I'd showed up and she didn't know me, she would feel at ease. She would feel comfortable talking to me. So then when it goes into production, what are the major things in production? I document all this, man. Like, I obsessed over it. The customer experience, how people feel, how they communicate, how they wanted to be communicated to. And then it's always evolving too. Now you've got microwave mentality. So we have like the roofer estimator and Roof Quote Pro and all these things. Like, people want like price anchoring early or at least a range, right? Like, they don't want to go into a blind. Everybody knows roofs are expensive, but they like, now the market's demanding more information up front. So that's always evolving. But then there's like some of these concepts, like, they don't change, and how we break down each part of the roofing business as the owner is how good your company's going to be. You know, like I made a whole presentation that I was going to speak on one time. It was about extreme ownership, but it was basically people, I think the word is relegate before they delegate. Okay. So relegating, I have to go back. It's been a couple of years since I put this together, but it's basically like you delegate something, but you have no idea what it is. You know, I just made a truck video the other day. I was driving the truck and I was like, people think they need a partner because they suck at finance and accounting. It's like, no, you just need to learn finance and accounting. You don't need a partner at the beginning of your business. You just need to stop being lazy, and you need to get on YouTube University and then take a college class, God forbid, at nights, like anything to get this information, you know, but people want to just make it easy and buy their way out of something that it's like, you really need to be growing. Like, I would say I know a little bit about a lot, but that's kind of, I mean, that's low key because I've been forced to learn more than most people will ever learn about finance and accounting and sales process and production management and all of these things, because like, you're not going to build something great unless the owner hires people that then he can hold accountable. And how can I, like, if I don't even understand the basic process of accrual accounting, how am I going to hold a financial controller accountable? I don't need to know the intricacies of how we move chart of accounts around and all this other stuff, but I better know what a chart of accounts means.
Fundamental understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of owners, so I say there's like two types of owners. There's a production-minded owner and a sales-minded owner. Usually sales-minded owners are more marketing, they're more flamboyant, they're more salesy, and then they really suck at the finished product. Production-minded owners, they all look at salespeople like order takers, and really the devil's in the details. Like, that piece of drip edge at the end is like, it's got to be perfectly bent and this and that. And they're like so down in the weeds, they can't scale because they don't understand the yin yang part. Like, you better have a good sales manager if you don't understand sales, like if your brain doesn't fire that way. But no matter what, the owner has to own the fact that he doesn't or he does know those things.
Right.
You know, like, know your limitations. And unfortunately, they're hiring for their limitations. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but you never did try and figure it out. So then when you get mad and you fire people, it's like, was it really their fault? Or did you just suck and you didn't train them?
No, it's interesting. And that hit its home because when I hired Christian, our producer / editor that does all of our content, like, that's the one part of the business I have no idea about, shooting and editing content. And before I had him, like, I would shoot shit on my iPhone and it's like, it's good enough. Just get stuff out, right? Get the message heard. Yep. And I'm like, okay, so there's a progression to this. It's time to make it better. Where do I start? I was like, I have no idea. Like, what, like, if he asked me what's my job, I have no fucking clue. Right. I just don't. So I had a friend that works is a developer like Fortnite, and he knows a lot of this stuff. So I back channeled through him to a local university, had him put like a job posting out. We got 6 or 7 different candidates. He vetted them for me, right? And shortlisted 2 or 3. And then we ended up going with Christian. But like, to your point, I don't know this. And I have to be able to say, I don't know this, because otherwise I'm setting myself, the company, and that person up for failure. Right. Like, we don't want that if we can avoid it. So like, let's take some necessary measures that we think will hedge against the outcome that we don't want, which is somebody in that seat that I don't know how to manage. I don't know what to expect from them. And honestly, I don't know how to gauge if they're doing a good job or not. Like, can this be better? Yep. Should it be better? I don't know. And then we had some ongoing, I don't know if you know manager Jonathan Cater, but he does ongoing coaching with him, right? John built my studio. I think he does great work. He's helped us out a lot. So he does like ongoing consulting to help bring Christian along.
He's a good dude.
Yeah. Solid. You said something that's my hot button issue. Like trying to buy your way out of issues that aren't money problems.
Yeah.
We'll throw money at it. So, let's say I'm running a campaign for you and there's 100 leads in the last 30 days. And we need more leads. Like let's increase the ad budget 50%. And I go into your send lead radar where we compartmentalize by organic, direct, PPC. And it's like, okay, now I start sorting them and I realize, okay, there's 50 leads that are under 20 seconds. And I listen to all of them and it's like, you've reached Andy's Roofing. Please hold while we transfer you to a representative. And every one of them is just hanging up after 20, 30 seconds. We've got to fix this, right? Like it's very conceivable that you don't need at all more leads. We got to make more out of what's happening, right? So whether Correct. It's speed to lead on a form submission, whether it's getting somebody to a live party contact. Are you familiar with Alivo?
Yep.
So Eric uses it, Eric Reno, and I was talking with him and I was like, I want to take a test drive through this thing, right? Like I love learning, right? When there's new products, there's new software, there's new things that, especially ones that are closely associated with the performance of the stuff that we're doing. It's my responsibility, my team's responsibility to become educated and figure out not only like what impact it has, but then to be able to recommend that or make recommendations when people are implementing it. Hey, we notice X, Y, and Z. So I call through and I'm throwing, the AI agent, it rings, it's 7:00 in the morning. They're open at, I think 8:00 on Google. It rings, gets the Paramount prompt. We're going to transfer you to live party. I get the AI agent. I'm just being a difficult customer. I'm like, well, I don't know if that works. Like, let's schedule it for this time, right? Just trying to see how adept this AI is at handling it. It did a really good job. But one thing that I noticed was it took 30 seconds to transfer to that AI agent. So I called Eric and it's 7:17 and he's doing whatever he's doing. He's like, what? I'm like, I got a question. I said, why is it taking 30 seconds to transfer to this agent? He said, well, it rings 3 times before the girls at the office, it gets to them because we want them answering the phone. Then it patches through. Like, okay, let's figure out a way during scheduled close hours that doesn't happen though, right? Because they're never going to pick up the phone, and every second they sit there on hold, it increases the likelihood of that undesirable outcome of them hanging up, right? And we might never talk to them again. So like paying attention to that stuff that you're investing in as well. And he does a great job. Eric is phenomenal and on top of that shit, but it never hurts to have another set of eyes, another set of ears, kind of looking at these things to see how collectively we can make it better, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's go back to the very beginning of what you said. All right. Let's talk about the mindset behind this. Okay. We are in business. We are service businesses because people decided that they were going to take the effort to Google roofer near me and then use their little thumb to click us. And then it goes down to the call that number and then they call. And nobody likes to call. Okay. So now they're calling somebody they don't know and they're pulling their little phone up to their face and they're spending the time. I mean, think about this in the microwave mentality of TikTok and all these things. That's immediate gratification. They're spending the time to call your business. Yeah. And people don't pick up the phone, or they take a long time, or it's annoying, or they don't have the solution. It sucks. Right. And so we as business owners, going back to extreme ownership, you have an obligation to fix some of these problems. And I'm very passionate about, so there's different stages of your business. Like, in the early days, you are everything. And so you pick up the phone whenever. But then there's like this stage in the business where when you start hiring people, you have to kind of turn into a business that they feel structure in. So it's like that 8 to 5 mentality. And then at some point you have enough support that then you can go backwards and go, let's change our office hours to 24/7 and have a live person answering it. And then now, thank the Lord, we have AI. And so now you can have someone answer the phone after hours. Like I was the guy at the company I used to work for that would carry the phone home and had to make sure it was charged and would sit there and we'd get one call over the weekend. You're like, oh my God, I gotta drop everything, get this call. And it's a spam call. Yep. But that just like constant awareness of that, like it sucked. So when I started Andy's Roofing, like it was my personal cell phone, which to any of you new business owners, please don't use your personal cell phone. Either get another cell phone or down the road, you'll get a call rail number or whatever. But like try and keep your cell phone off. Google Voice off. I still get calls from people from, 5.5 years ago. So, all of that is like the mindset of like, we have to serve people. So how are we available when they need us? And then we only want to be available for the services that we can serve them in. So don't say that you do underwater basket weaving and be a roofing company, right?
And then tell the person that, you know, you marketed to that you don't do that service.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like you owe it to these people not to waste their time.
Right.
But then when you get a live person on the phone and they called you for something that you can fix, we owe it to that homeowner to be the very best that is. I mean, like, I don't answer the phone just to be like, yeah, I think we can help you. You know, we'll be out there between 8 and 5 p.m. It's like, what in the world? It's like these stupid adjusters now. They're like, we have a time block between 8 a.m. and 12. You know how many times I've sat there till 12 and then they call the homeowner at 12:30 and they're like, yeah, I'm running a little bit behind. I'll be there tomorrow.
It's literally the worst experience ever as a consumer.
Yeah.
I had a pool company coming out and they're like, we'll be there Saturday. I said, okay, what time? Well, we open at 8 and we close at 5. I'm like, seriously, dude? Like, you're giving me a damn 9-hour time frame? I'm like, I got shit to do and I'd like to be here because, like, I would like to learn some of this stuff. I'm like, this is the first time I've had a pool and I'm completely ignorant to it. And, you know, I would just feel better about being there, but I don't have 9 hours. I'm like, I got a screaming toddler that's going to demand that I do things with him. You know, so if you can give me like a few hours even, like, I'd feel better about that. And it's still not great, right? But I think a lot of that comes around to chaos, right? Like, if you don't have the systems, you don't have the processes, you don't have anything that's predictable, right? As far as what people's expectations are, when you're going to be on a job, how long you're going to be there. So if this is your binky, your little pacifier. It's like, we'll give you an 8-hour time frame. People don't want that shit. And I promise you, if I call you to do my roof and you tell me someone will be out to give me a quote and give me an 8-hour time frame, I'm calling the next person. I'm good. Yep. Thanks. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's building your process around the people that make you money, that keep you in business, that ultimately give you more business down the road and a cheaper customer acquisition cost because they give you referrals. Like, why would we not do everything in our power to build a process that's scalable that just serves the people that ultimately keep us in business? Like, it's crazy.
You want people to buy stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you're talking about you guys, like you're all doing a great job getting leads and all this. And then the booking rate sucks because their CSR only works part-time. Like the rest of them go to voicemail and the owner hopefully checks it once a day because he's out running around. Like, it's not in the best service of the homeowner to have that. So I tell like new business owners, if you just started your roofing business, the first hire is someone that sits in the office and has access to your calendar. And you know, these type A personalities are like, oh no, I own my calendar and I do what I want. I'm like, well, what are you going to do when you have 2 sales reps? Do they get to do what they want? And when that lead comes in and you scratch it on a piece of paper that hopefully the wind doesn't blow away, and then you send a picture of it to your sales rep and he's in the middle of a presentation and 3 hours later he gets the text, he forgets about the text. And then hopefully by 5 or 7 or 9 o'clock that night, he calls that person back to hopefully schedule an appointment. That if you do that in my market,
we're all set.
Yeah. If you do that in my market, like I've probably already sold that job by the time that you call them back.
Right.
Like it's just, we are here to serve people. And so like when they call into the office, our CSRs have a list of services that we offer. And then we share with them the expectations of what we're going to do next. And then after that, we go and we deliver on those expectations. We're going to show up at a very specific time. If my sales rep is 2 minutes late, he's going to call that homeowner or text that homeowner and let them know he will be there at 8:03.
Yep.
Like, yeah, because we don't lie. Important. Like, absolutely.
And you could be late, or, you know, if it rains, let them know, like, hey, we're scheduled to install, but by the way, it's looking like it's going to pour rain, so we might not make it. We'll play it by ear.
Well, I mean, think about it in the customer experience, but really in the sales process. If you are that specific to let someone know that you feel bad that you're getting there 8:03 or 8, the only people that would get mad about that once you've communicated them are the douchebag customers that nobody wants to work with anyways.
Right.
Like we don't want them. Like, I've been standing on my doorstep for 2.5 minutes. Like, you're like, oh, bro, you know, I don't feel like we would be the best customer or the best company that would be able to serve your needs. Like, you need to walk away from that one.
Yeah. Hate to say the trash takes itself out, but that's what came to mind when you said that. It's
hey, I tell everybody when they ask me that I'm the janitor at Andy's Roofing. And then if the conversation keeps going, I'd be like, no, seriously, I take out the trash.
so good. When I do consulting, it's one of the first things that I do. Like company, they reach out to us and they're like, hey, we want to work with you. I'm like, all right, it's $1,500. I sit with you for 2 or 3 hours. I ask you about 300 questions. And then like I've watched a lot of people grow companies. I've helped companies grow from nothing to 15, 20 million, everything in between. So the first thing I do is look at their Google business profile. What are your hours of operation? And like a lot of people, they're between $1 million and $2 million. I'm like, okay, so you're open 9 to 5. I said, what happens if I call at 6:37 p.m.? Well, we pick up. I said, okay, so how long is that sustainable for? How long do you want to be tied to your phone? The most recent one, she's like, outside of this, I have my dad, he's a little elderly, so I help with him. I love my grandkids. We get to spend a lot of time with them. I was like, okay, so how many hours, 6 months down the road, how many of the hours do you want to take away from your grandkids to pick up your phone to make sure that your customers are being serviced, right? And, there's levels to it because the easy answer is like either something like a Levo, right? Because AI is becoming better and better where that can kind of handle that for you. But even before that, it's like live party answering service, right? Overflow, weekends, holidays, and outside office hours. If it rings during, like if I'm on the phone and I'm with a customer and somebody else is calling me, I don't want to disrupt that customer's experience that I'm talking to, and I don't want that call to get unanswered. So let it ring 3 times and then go to a live party. If it's after hours, like spend time with your kids and your family if that's important to you, right? Make sure that lead is also getting the attention it deserves. One of the biggest mistakes I see though is they'll have an answering service, but they won't integrate to their calendar. Like you need to get that commitment from that prospect as early as possible, right? We don't want, okay, what's the point of having an answering service if they call you at 6:30, you take all the information, you know exactly what they want. Like, all right, well, when they're in the office tomorrow at 9 a.m., they'll give you a call back. They're calling the next person. And then the next person, that person has a desired number of estimates. And maybe it's 1, maybe it's 3. They're going to call until they get that number. So by the time you call back at 8 or 9 a.m., guess who's not getting to go out? And you just spent $168 on that lead.
Yep.
Another thing you had mentioned, the microwave mentality and, things like the instant estimators that are out there through Roofer, Roof Quote Pro or Ascend or whoever. Different demographics, different people in different areas have different preferences on how they want that conversation to start. So maybe it's a text message. Maybe it's an instant link to book on your website, right? I'll tell you what, if somebody's under 25 years old and they bought a house, or probably under 30 at this point, like the likelihood that they want to talk to you and have like a phone conversation is probably the closest thing to zero. That's not zero. They'll likely do the instant roof quote and wait for follow-up, or they'll click the instant booking, know that they have it scheduled and we're good. Right. So when we design and develop websites, I like to take that into consideration. I talk through people that in the consultation, it's let's not choose for them how they start the conversation. Let's give them the option, right? Give them an instant roof quote option. Give them a contact form. Give a call now. Give an instant booking. If you want a little text widget down at the bottom too, fine. People are like, oh, then they're going to be overwhelmed. Like overwhelmed with what? Too many
options.
Ways it's not like you're showing somebody, what do you want to buy as far as a house, Andy? Ethan. Okay. Ethan with Andy's Roofing, he wants a 3-bedroom with a 2-car garage. He wants, 2 bathrooms and a pool. I'm not going to show you 17 different houses because you're going to be overwhelmed. But if you think it's overstimulating to have 4 different calls to action and let people choose, I would tell you you're wrong. Give them the option. That's all.
Yeah, people they like options. So, I mean, going back to the sales process, if you give them one estimate, then they get to choose 2 other companies. If I give you 3 estimates or 3 options, then chances are 80% of people pick the middle option, but either way, they picked one with you. Right. So it's crazy to me that some of these people aren't doing that. But yeah, no, options are king. You'll always give people options and then always give people a way out. That's what my dad taught me. He's like, hey man, always just give people a way out. Let them decide.
Yeah. I like that. So you're doing like a good, better, best. What software do you use for your proposals?
We're using Sumo Quote.
Okay. When did you implement that?
Oh man, I got a good story.
Literally the best response I've ever had to a question on the show.
Oh no. So that I'm usually I go both ways. Depending on what it is, I'm either a late adopter or an early adopter on some things. So I went to Roofing Process Conference and they had a booth. I bought it in the booth, went up to my hotel room, built the template out, and then flew home on Sunday and tried to use it in front of a homeowner on Monday.
How'd that go?
I didn't even know how to like do the showcase part where it was like you flip it and I'm sitting there and then I hit the sign now thing and then I electronically signed it myself. So I had to sign quote. I had to redo the whole thing. And I'm sitting there in front of the homeowner. Oh man. Yeah. Like I walked out of there and like one of our things is like, we don't practice on homeowners. Like you practice in private and then you bring homeowners like solutions or options or whatever. That's like you're polished, you're a professional. And that was not that bad. Like it was bad. So since then we've gotten a lot better. So to answer your question, it was probably 3.5 years ago, maybe, that we did that. And it's been really good. There's changes. You don't have to use Sumo Quote. That's just what we use. But now
something.
Absolutely, man. Like Job Nimbus, now they acquired Sumo Quote. They have it integrated in, and now they have their version of Sumo Quote or whatever. But, AccuLynx has their version. There's Service Titan now that's making a splash in roofing, even though, in my opinion, they are an HVAC CRM, but they're making a splash in roofing. I think they give 6 options. So any of that kind of stuff, how you present it, like how you share your options, and then e-signable capability is really big, but all of that comes down to your sales process. Like how do you price anchor? How do you do all of these things? It's just, to me, it's basic, but then I'm talking to some of my people and they're like, bro, people just don't know that. And I'm like, they don't obsess over this stuff like every day. Yeah. So now I've kind of turned like for the first 5 years of the business. So like, I think 2 years into the business, because I think it was the bright colors, people started asking me to speak at events. And I'm like, bro, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, why are you asking me to speak? Like, this is stupid, So I'd go and do it. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, you're getting a false sense of, really like you're not good. Like you're not good at all. Like why are you feeling that you're good? You're not. And so my whole goal was to build a sustainable roofing company. So what we did is I backed away from everything until like my number was 10 million. I was like, until we build a $10 million roofing company with an organizational chart, with all of these things in place, like you really, you shouldn't be telling people how to grow a business, and it was one of those deals like I've done it. Now I can go and teach people. And then like I have the proof. The proof is in the pudding. I hate gurus, dude. It's like there's all these guys now that I look up to and, Dan Martell. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like here's the deal.
Feel it. You can smell it when you.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And my whole thing is so like Dan Martell, all these Alex Hormozy, all these guys, they're so like, don't take advice from people that you wouldn't trade places with or hasn't done what you want to do. So my only caveat to that is in the ministry. Like there's very few pastors at churches under 200 people that have built $10 million plus businesses. But when they give you advice on your marriage or, your kids or whatever, if they have a track record of being able to take care of that, like you should listen to them. And it doesn't translate like the business and the ministry. So that's the only caveat I have to that. But other than that, like in the business world it's very hard for me to listen to somebody that hasn't done what I want to do.
Right.
It's just a credibility factor. Like I don't have to ask people a lot of questions if I can just look at behind them and see what they've done and it kind of explains it for you. So that's my drive over the next 5 years. I mean, I'm kind of in this place where it's like the business is growing, things are moving. It's not autopilot. I'm still involved actively in the business, but it's more of the visionary type stuff. Right. And we're building a new office right now. So where I'm going is, my personal brand, dude, I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm just a roofer trying to figure it out. But I look back at the 1 year in roofing business ownership, and I'm like, I had guys like Dimitri that let me fly up to his office. We had roofing process conference where we could get people together and they could like pour into the younger contractors. And now I feel like there's this massive void where I don't know, man. It's like people don't remember where they came from, or they just don't know how to articulate it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to build an office and I'm going to bring contractors in and I'm going to spend a day with them and we're going to show them everything. And then I'm going to explain to them, when you're 1 million, you don't need to be doing all this crazy stuff over here and, hiring 30 employees. Like, you need to figure out how to make money. Like, we got to get predictable lead flow. You got to get your name out there. But then, like, the stages of the business, I documented pretty much all of it. And then I lived through all the pain of it. So it's like, my mission now is like, if I can just take some of the pain away from these guys when they're coming through and help grease the slopes for them to build. I mean, a $5 million business is a beautiful thing.
Sure.
Depending on how you build it, you can be very profitable. I mean, I was very profitable at 5 million, and it was like, they can stop there, make good money, and they don't have to do this appendage measuring conference, like basically you're trying to say I am not the same as $100 million roofing company. Yeah, it's what it is, man. Like, I look at these guys that are 50 million. I'm like, God, I just suck. Like, there could be more money in my bank account than theirs.
Yeah.
So like, unless you get really close to them, and that could take a long time to build a personal relationship with them to where they'd open up their books and be like, yeah, bro, we're running at a 1% margin. And, at the end of the year, and if we don't get that rebate, it's going to be bad. Like, that's the kind of stuff that goes on in this industry. So I was like, my motivation for the last 2.5, 3 years is like, let's build something that we can show people. It's marketing. It's like, I want people to see something that actually works, bring them in. I bring my P&L out and be like, look, dude, this is what my chart of accounts looks like at this level. This is what it looked like back here. This is where like I grew, and this is the pain. Like, don't do that. This is where it sucked, and this is why, and just help them grow. I mean, the fulfillment piece for me is more, it's bigger than money now. So
right.
I'm excited, man. I'm blessed for this next probably 5 years of my journey.
I love that. I got a couple questions. One, can we do a part 2 to this? 2, can I come out to the new office?
Absolutely. So this is the part where it's like this personal brand thing. Like, I talked to my marketing team, was like, yeah, we're going to do this. And they're putting some pieces in place for me behind the scenes. And I'm like, I kind of want to show people this because, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I got people calling my cell phone, messaging me on Facebook. I'm like, yeah, dude, let's schedule a time. And it's like, what happens when 100 people do that? It's like, so we're building a website for ethanandes.com. There will be like, there's Calendly, there's all that stuff to schedule time. Like, I'm at the beginning stage of this. You're getting the podcast at the beginning. We'll look back in 5 years and be like, Ethan was a flop, or dang, look at Ethan,
Just don't forget about the little people, man.
Yeah, no, but to answer your question, you can definitely come out to the office. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like. I know when I went up to Dimitri's, like, I talked to Dimitri on the phone the other day and I was like, hey man, how did you do this? How'd you deal with this? And he's like, dude, it got so big. I had so many people coming to my office. We had to have events. And then once we had events, it turned into a conference. And that's my ultimate goal, is like, I like Roofing Process Conference. Like, when he said that he wasn't going to do it anymore, I was like outside and I went up and like, I literally cried and like gave him a hug. And I was like, dude, like, you built my business. Like, the connections that I made here at this conference they helped me so much, but really I avoided so much dumb tax, being able to just, call up Martin Pettigrew or Mark Godere or Eric Reno or some of these guys. And it's like, hey dude, don't do that. Do this. Here, I'm going to send you my handbook, like all that kind of stuff. It helped me so much. So really just being able to give back as we grow, I think it would help a lot of people to see. And then I talked to a guy the other day and he's like, yeah, I want to build this business. For him, it was like a $3 million business and it was in a different industry. And I'm like, why? Like, you're making good money here. Why do you want the stress of being there? You won't get to do all the things that you get to do now until you get to probably 4 or 5 million, where you get that leadership that runs it for you. I was like, you need to chill out. Like, what does success look like? Yeah,
it's an interesting question too. And I think a lot of the times we're conditioned to look through like a binary lens, like, am I or am I not successful? And I always say, like, usually the answer is a continuum. Like, how successful are you? Aren't you? Take inventory of the things that you find important that are contributing factors to success. Rate yourself on those things, be aware of them, and where you're falling short, have a level 10 meeting with yourself. right?
Yeah.
Figure
You
out how
only
we
have to be, you have to be true to yourself. And that is the most important thing. And I've done things in my life in the business where it's like, I mean, there's so much that I want to teach newer business owners, because I mean, there was a point in my business. I woke up, we had a storm. I woke up and I just was like, this is not the business I wanted to build. Like it just sucks. Like I hate the culture. I hate everything about this. So I was like, this is not me. So I started firing people. I changed the commission structure. Like I said, we let a bunch of people go. And I was like, I don't care about the money anymore. We're going to build this the way that I'm true to myself and the way that we will help homeowners the way that I want it done. And ultimately that became the Andy's way, is what we call it.
I love that. Love
the
it.
Ascend way.
The Ascend way to the moon. Let's go, baby. What do you have any questions for me before? I mean, I could keep you here for hours, but I know you got shit to do. So, do you have any questions for me before we wrap up? You didn't answer the part 2 though. You're willing to do a part 2?
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, I'll keep you here for another hour. So
you got to be careful asking me open-ended questions though, man, because I could go all day. Like I got a lot of life experience summed up in a very short amount of time. Yeah. And so it's like, I'll unravel it for you quick.
No, this is good. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I think there's a ton of value in here that anybody watching it, whether they're at 500,000 or 10 million, I think that they would pull a lot of good stuff out of this. Do you have anything for me before we go?
Not really. Give me a little bit of time. So hopefully it was the first week of September, but I think it's going to be the first week of November now with all this crazy rain. They're supposed to have my building done. So, I mean, I don't know what that looks like. I've never been here before. I've never had a building like this. So it was something I dreamed about for 3 years. Like I bought the land and then we ended up using the land, different land, because it got so big of what I wanted to build. And then, like I said, I've never been here before. So I was hoping in Q1 we could bring people in and let them see what we built, but it may be Q2. I don't know yet, but that is my ultimate mission down the road, is just like, hey man, if you're a young guy and you're trying to learn all this, like come in, I'll explain to you what a handbook is and why you need it and like an organizational chart and all of the accountability stuff. And it's like, you do with it what you want, but I know I'm going to get fulfillment from it. And then hopefully it's going to help people build better businesses that are more sustainable. And ultimately we help homeowners the best way possible.
I don't think you could put a better pin in it than that. Honestly, Ethan, I certainly appreciate your time and willingness to come and add value to the audience. And thanks again to the team at Roofer for helping making this happen. And we go.
Appreciate you, buddy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.